What's going on, everyone? My name is Liz from Learn Robotics, and welcome to episode number 2 of Learn Robotics Live. In this episode, we've got an awesome electronics-themed Halloween project that I'm super excited to share with you guys. We're going to be soldering some things up, we're going to be working with sensors, we're going to be creating a awesome decoration, which, as I prefaced on social media, we are going to be making these glowing ghosts, and they're pretty easy. You should have a lot of fun doing it. You'll get a lot more practice with electronics. More to come right after this.
Things about doing these videos is you just get to see my face.
Welcome, guys. Episode number 2. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to join me here on Learn Robotics Live. This is the free class where you get to gain skills in robotics, electronics, programming, mechanics, all things cool, all things fun. If you missed last week's episode, you can always head on over to learnrobotics.org, snag yourself a spot in the free class, rewatch all the episodes, get access to the downloads, the code samples, all the files, this recording. So if you want to play it back again and watch it through a second time, you can. So go check that out on learnrobotics.org. But now let's jump right into it. We've got an awesome tech-filled day today. It's all about Halloween decorations that are actually useful, kind of fun. You're going to be building these circuits up, and we're going to start with talking about the thought behind this project and kind of how I thought of it. So in my mind, I was like, it'd be kind of cool if we had these like ghosts, and then if it was light out, they'd be like normal, but then if it got dark, they would like glow. And I was like, how could I do that? And then I was like, okay, definitely need a photoresistor, definitely need to figure out how to read ambient lighting, definitely need to be able to send that to an LED and then kind of diffuse the light. So what I did is I came up with this methodology. I was like, okay, I'm going to capture a reading, but that reading is going to be high when it's lit, so I need to kind of flip that reading. So when it's dark, it actually lights up the LED, and this is where a transistor came into play. So I added that into my circuit, and I came up with this prototype. So essentially what we're going to be doing is using the photoresistor and the transistor together to determine what signal is sent to the LED. And basically the methodology is we're going to be using this transistor almost like an if statement conditionally to determine whether or not we want the LED to be on or off. And depending on the environment that it's in, the glowing ghost will glow. So as I put this battery in, you'll see I've got my hand over the photoresistor. You'll see that it's glowing right now, but as I move it up towards the light, it shuts off. So, woo! So let's go ahead and take a look at the wiring diagram for this project. It is pretty much what you would expect. We've got our LDR on up here on the right corner. We're going to be basically sending that information into the base of the NPN transistor. And then from the transistor, we are going to send it out the collector into the negative side of the LED. And then we've got a battery there supplying the power to the whole system. And sure, you could make this way more complex. You could add some switches in there, you could add more LEDs, you could add different color LEDs. You can do quite a few different things with this project, but I wanted to keep it as simple as possible just so that we could do this project in about an hour or so and have a lot of fun with it. The idea is that maybe you make a bunch of these and you hang them up and you have a bunch of different colors, or you put them in different rooms and you just have a good time with it. So now what I want to do is I want to share with you the Perf board wiring diagram because we're going to make a permanent prototype. And so to do that, we are going to be soldering a Perf board, which, as I will show you, is kind of like a breadboard, but this one is only single holes. And we've got connections for the power and the ground. So basically what we've got going on here is we've got one side that have these solder pads and another side where we seat the components. So if you're not familiar with soldering, maybe this isn't the best project for you to practice on. Or if you want to try this out and use this as practice, this could be a good project for you. You can follow along with me. But I will recommend that if you've never soldered in your life, don't expect to be good at it on your first try, because it's not like painting. You don't just like glob it on there. It takes some practice. So be realistic with your expectations when it comes to soldering this up if you've never done any soldering. And if you have done soldering, this is going to be super easy, and you'll probably have, better techniques of doing it. But the purpose of this class is to just practice. So at whatever level you're sitting at right now, the goal is to just get better than you were before you took this lesson. So in this class, we're going to be following along with the Perf board diagram, which I'm going to put up on the screen for you. And what we're going to be doing is mapping all the components to the same holes on our perf board, as you see in the diagram. And if you're more familiar with how this works, you don't have to follow this hole by hole. You can put it wherever you would like. Just make sure that you're following the overall schematic, which is why I've provided that as well. So at whatever level you're at, you can feel free to modify the schematic, use the schematic, and wire up the perf board however you would like. And if you're brand new, follow along with this diagram, and that'll help you get everything set up. And one last thing, I just wanted to let you guys know, if you don't wire it up correctly, it's not going to work. So if it doesn't work when you're done soldering it, then you're going to have to go back and make sure that your connections are correct. Fun, right? Welcome to robotics. All right, so let's go ahead, and I'm going to keep the diagram up on the screen. So if you plan on following along, we can go through and start placing our components. And I also want to show you all the setup that I have right now. So just some common tools and some common components you're going to need to make this ghost. So I've got myself some tweezers. This is just good for bending wires and components. I've got my wire cutters, wire strippers. I've got the helping hand here. I'm going to use it to clamp down the perf board and help me hold it in place while I'm soldering. I've got some lead-free solder, soldering iron. Don't forget to wet the sponge. It's not difficult. You just get up, you run this under some water, you wring it out, you make sure it's damp. Don't be that person that doesn't do it. You'll ruin your iron. You're going to need a hot glue gun, and you'll need a piece of paper towel for later, a Sharpie, and if you have a multimeter, you can get it out. It's just good to test all of your solder joints to make sure they are connected. Now for the components for the actual project, you're going to need an LED of whatever color you like, a photoresistor, you're going to need a transistor, a small piece of wire to act as a jumper, and you're going to need 4 resistors. You're going to need 2 10K ohm resistors, 1 1K ohm resistor, and 1 50 ohm resistor. You're also going to need a button cell battery holder. So those are all of the components that you're going to need. And now what we're going to do is start mapping all of these components to the actual board. And once we've got them mapped on here, we'll start soldering them down. So be sure, if you're doing this project right now, to just let me know in the comments, let me know in the chat, and I'll be there to answer any questions that you have. Let's go ahead and start wiring. So you can feel free to do this on a breadboard, or you can go ahead and make the prototype on a perf board. Here's how I did it. Using the perf board layout diagram provided in this lesson, grab all of the components and arrange them on the top of the perf board. We're going to start with a resistor, then the LDR, finish with the transistor, the remaining 3 resistors, the battery holder, and then the LED. Once we have all of the components mapped out on the board, it's time to tack them into place. This just keeps the components from moving around on the board and allows us to verify our work. If you have a set of helping hands, it's super useful. You can clip the board right onto the helping hands and use it to keep everything still while you're trying to solder. Remember to line up the soldering iron with the soldering pad and place a small amount of solder, just enough to keep the pin in place and to join the pins together. You can use a meter to verify that the connections are actually being made by switching it over to the sound setting and putting the probes together. This will show that there's conductivity and that the leads are connected. The last component that we can mount to the board is the LED. Just remember that LEDs do have polarity. The flat side is negative and the curved side is positive. And just use the wiring diagram and the perf board layout to make sure that you've got it connected properly. Once we have that done, just do some final touches and then we'll be ready to go to test this out. All right, so now we've got everything wired up. The moment of truth. We got to plug in the battery and hope that this guy turns on. Grab your battery, just pop it in. The positive side is going to be facing up. I'll just go ahead. All right, that's pretty cool. So what you should see is when your hand is away from the LDR, nothing. When you put your hand over the LDR, it starts to glow. So now that we have a working prototype, the next step is to pop out the battery, and then we're going to clip off the excess edges from our components. Take your snips and just line it up and clip off all of those hanging edges. We don't want those to get shorted out, and we don't want to poke somebody. It's just not aesthetically pleasing, and it's better practice to clip those off. So once you clean up your board, we'll be ready to move on to the next step. So now that we've got our completed circuit board, we're going to attach the paper towel with some hot glue and then draw on the eyes. And you can connect a rubber band if you want to hang it from something. So let's go ahead and grab our paper towel. And so a lot of this is like just kind of like finesse. You're just going to be playing with it to kind of give it some shape. And so whatever you kind of think is a ghost or a ghostly shape is what you're going to try to do. And so I basically just kind of put, you can kind of see, just glue around the top portion and kind of just fluffed out the paper towel to kind of give it some shape. And you can make these a lot creepier too. Like if you have some of that like fake cobweb stuff or some of those spiders, you could kind of like make it creepier. You can make it friendly, you can make it creepy. You can kind of draw on it. However you'd like is really up to you. And then the last step is to just pop in the battery and play around with it. So since I'm actually broadcasting in a very well-lit room, it's very difficult to see this guy working, but you'll see the red LED is actually on, and if we're haunted, we might actually be able to see him glow. Obviously, if you're in a completely dark room, then this will be glowing. And regardless of what LED you use, you can always take out the voltage divider that is splitting off the signal from the LDR, and you can just hardwire right into the base of the transistor if you find that the signal is too weak. Let's go back to full lit room. I think this project is a lot of fun. If you have any questions at all, remember to use the chat. That's what I'm here for. I want to help you guys learn these skills and practice your electronics. So if you have any questions at all, please drop them in the chat. I'm on right now to help you. I will be responding to everyone's questions. And let me know if you like this project. Let me know in the chat. Can I get a, hey, this was awesome in the chat if you really enjoyed it? And what I wanted to do is let you guys know that I have a limited number of these kits available. So if you want to get one of these kits and build out the glowing ghost project, the wiring diagrams, and the drawings will all be in the free course. All you need to do is get the parts and materials. You'll have to supply the tools in order to build this project, but they're available on the shop. I'm going to include a link in the description below, so if you'd like to grab yourself a kit, or if you want to sign up for the free course, watch the replays, get access to all the diagrams, view previous episodes, then go ahead, you can sign up there. That's it for today's episode, so thank you so much again for joining me on Learn Robotics Live. If you have any questions or you want to come find me on social media, it's at Learn Robotics on Facebook and Instagram. And I will see you guys next week 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday for another episode of Learn Robotics Live. See you guys. Go ahead. What are you waiting for? Go build something. TGIF. Sign up for the free course. Link in the description below. If you're watching on Learn Robotics, there's a link around this video. Go sign up for the free course. If you complete all of the activities, you'll get a free certificate. It's a lot of fun. You can hang out with me again every Friday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you're not available at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fridays, you can watch the replays whenever you want. It's kind of like Netflix, but for nerds. See ya.